Welcome to World History Notes, my World History Notes, where I'm sharing with you things that I'm learning. I knew some things already, general stuff, but I'm learning some things about the Cold War I think are pretty amazing for me. It's all very superficial, right on the surface. It's not in depth, not scholarly. This is stuff you can find just simply by typing a name or a date into Google. And I'm just going to read things I find off right off the internet, so you can look them up if you want to. um, I hope that you'll be interested in this. This is just fascinating stuff to me because I'm learning things from a different perspective, different things that I just did not understand. Did not realize that there was a war within the war, World War II. We were fighting Germany and Japan and Italy. We're fighting fascism and imperialism, but we also were imperialistic, and we had a lot of oppressive things about our Western governments over large parts of the world, and the Soviet Union was fighting us. Um, they Speaking of, they always talk about in after 9/11, they'd say, well, we're fighting the people that hate our way of living and hate our lifestyle and want to destroy our hate our freedoms and stuff like that. Well, in this case, this was completely true. In the Soviet Union's case, they wanted to destroy us, from within and from without. Uh, Fortunately, the end of the Cold War, they weren't able to do it from without, but the whole communist ideal has been eating at America from within for a long time. So I want to talk about a person, and this person wasn't a Soviet agent, but he might as well have been, because his promotion of the Soviet Union and their atrocities, glossing them over, was pretty remarkable. And the person's name was Joseph E. Davies. Now, Davies was appointed ambassador to the Soviet Union by FDR from 36 to 38. Had been a corporate lawyer, and he was a longtime friend of FDR, politically loyal. That was important. And he had been asked to kind of evaluate the strength of the Soviet army, its government, its industry, find out which side the Russians would be on in a war if there was a war coming up, which he believed there would be. Um, so now his predecessor, who is William Bullitt, had been an admirer of the Soviet Union, but he eventually came to hate the Soviet Union because of Stalin's brutality and repression. Davies wasn't bothered by his news of thousands of Russians being disappearing and foreigners disappearing throughout his stay as U.S. ambassador. His reports from the Soviet Union were devoid of any criticism of Stalin. He did note that the USSR had an authoritarian form of government, but he praised them for all the work they did. He said things like, one quote from the internet: communism holds no serious threat to the United States. Friendly relations in the future may be of great general value. He attended a purge trial that Stalin had put on in the late 30s, and he was convinced of the guilt of the accused. And and his opinions were, even though his opinions were at odds with many of the Western press of his day, um, it didn't matter. He just really wanted to promote the Soviet Union. Um, one of his um, one of his subordinates had written, Ambassador Davies was not noted for an acute understanding of the Soviet system. He had an unfortunate tendency to take what was presented at a trial as honest and gospel truth. Um, so this person could only guess at his motives for reporting it the way he did. Davies even claimed that communism protected the Christian world of free men. And he urged all Christians, by faith you founded your mother's D, in the name of faith you found the temples of worship, to embrace the Soviet Union. So after his assignment to Moscow, he was assigned to Belgium, Minister of Luxembourg, and he served as assistant to Secretary of State Cordell Hull. He wrote a book called Mission to Moscow, and the book sold like 700,000 copies worldwide in several languages. Um, and Roosevelt agreed to it. The book was adapted in '43 as a Warner Brothers movie. So he now Davies retained absolute control of the script when it was made into a movie, because he had it rewritten. He had the script rewritten to suit him. The movies made during World War II, when the Soviet Union was our ally, supposedly. but it was quoted as being an expedient lie for political purposes, glossily covering up important facts with full or partial knowledge of their false presentation. So it really gave a one-sided view of Moscow trials. So if you ever happen to see that in a list of old movies, just remember it's propaganda. Okay, it's a lie. It's not true. Um, so it, Davies was one of those people who had a tremendous impact as a propaganda agent without being a paid Soviet agent or under Stalin's payroll or without that. He he basically influenced Americans and other people to look to the Soviet Union ignorantly and thinking that Stalin was just he's a swell guy and he was doing God's work. Absolutely amazing to us today with what we know, but definitely this kind of idiot, or what the communists call useful idiot, um, is, in spite of his intelligence, definite intelligence, corporate lawyers, stuff like that, in spite of all that, this guy was a useful idiot. Just goes to show you that people can be very well read, they can be very well educated, they can have all kinds of letters after their name, PhDs and everything else, Ivy League, the whole works, and still be a complete moron when it comes to the truth. So be careful what you believe. All right. I hope you'll look into this guy and you'll see he's one of those negative influencers that promoted communism back in the day. So we'll stop with that right now. Give you a chance to pick that up. Now let's go to August 5th, 1945. The Air Force flew over Japanese cities and dropped nearly 800,000, well, over 700,000 pamphlets warning them to surrender or they were going to face total devastation. And at the same day, Paul Tibbets was formally named to lead the plane into Hiroshima mission, bombing mission. He named it after his mother, Enola Gay. There was a plane that would fly along with it that would take pictures, and that plane was called Necessary Evil. Um, in August 6th, the atom bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, and the bomb little boy, and about 8 in the morning, a little after 8, resulted in between 90 and 150,000 deaths. Um, a very terse press release was given by Harry Truman. He let the media know that the atomic bomb, with more power than 20,000 tons of TNT, had been dropped on Hiroshima, made no mention of radiation effects. And the idea of the atomic bomb was just being a bigger version of a regular bomb persisted for several days afterwards. Now, on the 7th, Radio Tokyo reported very unspecifically about an attack on Hiroshima, and because of the cloud over the site, the Americans weren't able to immediately assess the results. So the Japanese headquarters did refer to it as a new type of bomb, and expected that there were several bombs. That's what they were thinking. So then on the 8th, Radio Tokyo gave its first full report on the Hiroshima bombing, um, and they accused America of using methods that surpassed the hideous cruelty those of Genghis Khan. Then, and that's when Soviet Union declared itself in a state of war with Japan at the end of the war. So on the 9th, we bombed Nagasaki. The B-29 bomber named Boxcar dropped a Fat Man it was called Fat Man. That was the nickname on Nagasaki about 11 in the morning. That killed upwards of 80,000 people. And then the Soviet-Japanese War began with the invasion of Manchukuo. And Mongolia declared war on Japan. So now on the 10th, the Japanese government announced that they had sent a message to the Allies accepting the terms of the Potsdam Declaration, realizing there was no hope and they were on the verge of risking being completely destroyed. There was a tremendous fear. These were hideous bombs. Now, certainly more people died at a time from the firebombing of these little wooden framed, thin, paper thin Japanese houses, and put cramped together like in Tokyo and places like that. The conventional bombing killed more people, but this was a new type of weapon, and suggested a superiority, a technological superiority that would be overwhelming. And this was like the ultimate shock and awe. So that's where that's where we were at. We'll pick it up next time with the you know events as they unfold, because there's so many things that just it's just interesting to me, and I just want to share what I'm learning with you. Um, I don't expect probably a lot of you listen to this, you know more than I do. You've already dealt with this. You maybe written papers on it. Um, you've read extensively about this, and I apologize to you, but I'm learning stuff that's just absolutely amazing to me, and I want to share it. So that's what this video is about. Not about making money. Don't worry about that. I'm not worried about that. But I just hope you enjoy it. Okay. Thank you very much.